Ja Rule was involved in an altercation last night at Barclays Center during Brandy and Monica's The Boy Is Mine tour stop. And turns out, that was the height of it. Rumors of him receiving any beatdown are completely false. Ja cleared up all the internet rumors with TMZ Hip Hop. "I don't call police. I didn't get jumped. They tried though." When asked who the guys were trying to put blood in his eye, he simply said, "No clue." Tasha K, who's been ordered to pay Cardi B over $1 million in a past defamation, false reporting case, jumped out on the JA rumors, claiming the rap star had been turned to orange juice pulp, and he clapped back at her. Max B is also being looped into the rumors, but his team tells TMZ Hip Hop neither the recently released rapper nor his team had anything to do with the situation. The footage in question shows two groups of men. One man shoves another to the other side, while the person filming IDs a figure with a red circle, purportedly Ja Rule, being restrained from entering the melee. But that's where the video cuts off. Sometimes, the lies are more entertaining than the truth. The chaos that erupted from that single moment inside Barclays Center is almost unbelievable. When you think about how little actually happened, a shove, a few raised voices, a brief moment of tension in a crowded venue, something that happens in every city, at every event, on any random night, but because a celebrity was even near it. The world took that small smudge of truth and spread it like wet paint across the entire internet. Within hours, a tiny spark that should have died instantly grew into a full-blown wildfire of rumors, exaggerations, and straight-up fabrications. And somehow, in the middle of this foolishness, stood Ja Rule, a man who has lived through more real chaos in the industry than most people online could ever imagine. Inside Barclays, the night had started like any other concert night in New York, a mixture of nostalgia, excitement, and that buzzing electricity that fills the air when thousands of people gather under one roof for something they love. Brandy and Monica performing The Boy Is Mine on tour was already a moment dripping with nostalgia. For many fans, it wasn't just a concert, it was a memory, a reminder of childhood, teenage heartbreaks, summer nights with friends, and moments when the radio felt like the soundtrack of life itself. That song alone could bring people to tears. But the energy, as beautiful as it was, also had that little edge that concerts in New York always carry: the unpredictability, the noise, the overcrowding, the adrenaline, and the possibility that something could pop off at any moment, and it did. But it did. One group of men brushed up against another. Maybe someone stepped on somebody's shoes. Maybe someone misread a look. Maybe someone had too much to drink and started talking too loud. Maybe it was just a moment of bad timing, where two energies collided at the wrong second. Whatever the reason, all it took was one shove. Not a punch, not a swing, not a strike, just a shove, one man pushing another across a few feet of space. Security reacted as security does. They intercepted, separated, and kept the situation from escalating. In the middle of this, Ja Rule was seen, not fighting, not being attacked, not dragging anyone to the floor, just being held back from walking towards the ruckus. Held back, not held down. Restrained, not harmed. But the internet doesn't deal in subtlety. The internet wants spectacle, and if it doesn't exist, it will create it. By the time people woke up the next morning, the story had completely transformed. What started as a shove became an attack. That attack became a jumping. That jumping turned into Ja Rule got beat up at Barclays. Then that narrative twisted into Ja Rule got jumped by a group of men. And by lunchtime, people were adding flavor. Ja Rule got stomped out. Ja Rule got dragged. Ja Rule was leaking. Ja Rule was unconscious. And the most absurd one, Ja Rule needed medical attention and was escorted out. None of this happened, of course. If even 5% of those things happened, there would be videos, photos, eyewitnesses, who aren't just anonymous Twitter accounts with anime profile pictures. But in a world where content is currency, and clout is more valuable than accuracy, people don't care what's real, they care what's entertaining. And nothing adds fuel to an online rumor like a controversial figure jumping in, and this time, that figure was Tasha K. Tasha K has built an entire online persona on being loud, unfiltered, messy, and willing to say the very things most people would keep in drafts or delete before posting. This is the same woman who famously lost a lawsuit to Cardi B for spreading false information. A lawsuit so massive that it forced her into bankruptcy. That alone should have been enough to remind her to stay far away from unverified rumors. But in typical Tasha K fashion, she jumped right back into the fire head first, claiming Ja Rule had been turned into orange juice pulp. Her wording was wild, dramatic, almost theatrical, and Ja Rule wasn't having it. He clapped back, not with anger, but with that same slightly irritated amusement of someone who has seen one too many people try to make a name off his. He brushed off the rumors with humor and sarcasm because honestly, that's all they deserved. They tried though, he said, making it clear that whatever happened inside Barclays was nowhere near the dramatic disaster people online invented. But the internet wasn't done. It never is. Somehow, Max B's name got dragged into the story. Max B, freshly released, trying to rebuild his life and career, was suddenly being connected to an altercation at Barclays that he had absolutely no involvement in. It wasn't just unfair, it was irresponsible. Rumors claim he sent dudes, or that his people had confronted Ja. All nonsense. His team cleared it up fast, telling TMZ Hip Hop that neither Max nor his team had anything to do with it. But once a rumor attaches itself to a celebrity, it doesn't matter how many times it gets corrected, someone somewhere will still believe it. And that's exactly what happened here. People were running wild with stories that had no foundation in reality whatsoever. A shove became an ambush became a beating became a conspiracy involving rappers who weren't even there. Screenshots surfaced, edited clips floated around, fake eyewitness accounts sprouted like weeds. And despite all of this, Ja Rule stayed unbothered, refusing to give the rumor any more power than it deserved. The truth, as always, was simple, too simple for people entertained by chaos. Nothing happened. Not really. A shove, a moment of tension, a brief flash of adrenaline. That's it. No punches, no stomping, no blood, no injuries, no drama. A situation that lasted all of 3 seconds grew into a national conversation for 24 hours. And for what? Because people love messy stories more than boring truths. And what makes this whole situation even more ironic is that Ja Rule grew up in the era of real beef, real confrontations, real tension, real threats. Not this watered-down social media drama filled with people inventing beef from behind keyboards. He came from a time when if something happened, there were witnesses, photos, documents, people who actually knew the truth. Not random accounts online, guessing and exaggerating because they enjoy chaos. Ja Rule's response said everything. It said he wasn't scared, wasn't touched, wasn't impressed, and wasn't about to make this into something bigger. His calmness shut down the narrative without having to say much at all. That's what happens when someone has already lived through bigger storms. He has nothing to prove. Meanwhile, the people who spread the lies, they fed into a fantasy because sometimes fantasy is more addictive than reality. People love drama. People crave excitement. People enjoy watching celebrities in chaos because it feels like entertainment. But this time, the entertainment wasn't real. It was manufactured. And maybe that's why Ja Rule's final line, sometimes the lies are more entertaining than the truth, hits harder than expected. Because it's the truth about the truth. The world doesn't care about facts. It cares about the version of the story that gets the most clicks, the most retweets, the most comments, the most reactions.